You ever just feel like you're wired differently than everyone around you? Not better, not worse, just off in your own world somehow. Maybe people have called you weird your whole life because of how you think. Your friends don't get why you're always asking questions, or why you'd rather stay home than go out, or why you can sit with one idea for hours after everyone else has completely moved on. And maybe at some point you started wondering, is something actually wrong with me? Here's what psychology says. A lot of the habits that look strange from the outside are actually connected to higher intelligence. And intelligence doesn't always show up the way we think it does. It's not about acing tests, it's not about being the smartest person in the room, and it's definitely not about having all the answers. Sometimes it shows up as the stuff people tease you about. Some of the greatest minds in history had habits most people thought were just plain odd. So if you spent your life feeling like you don't quite fit, stick with me. Today we're going through 8 strange habits that might actually be signs of a highly intelligent mind. Quick note, intelligence shows up in a lot of different ways, and this is meant to be educational. Now let's get into it. 1. You actually like being alone. People assume that if you spend a lot of time by yourself, you must be lonely, but those are two completely different things. Loneliness is wanting to be around people and not having that. Solitude is choosing your own company and actually enjoying it. Highly intelligent people tend to lean towards solitude, and there's a real reason for that. Their minds are already full. When they're alone, they're not sitting there bored. They're thinking, processing, turning ideas over, imagining things. There's a lot going on up there. Researchers have actually found that people with higher intelligence often get less satisfaction from constant social interaction than most people do. That's not because they hate people, it's because they don't need the stimulation the same way. Think about the great thinkers throughout history. A lot of them deliberately put distance between themselves and the crowd, not to escape people, but because they needed quiet to actually figure things out. So if you'd rather have a slow morning alone than spend it at a noisy brunch, that's not a flaw. Your brain just runs better with a little breathing room. 2. Your curiosity doesn't have an off switch. You know how you look something up real quick and then 45 minutes later you're deep in an article about something you never even knew existed? That's not a distraction problem. That's just how curious minds work. Highly intelligent people don't just want the answer, they want to understand it. Most people are fine once they get what they need and move on, but some brains just keep pulling on the thread. How does this work? Why does it happen? What else does this connect to? That kind of relentless curiosity is one of the most powerful drivers of intelligence because it never lets you stop learning. Every question leads to another one, and the more you know, the more connections your brain can make between ideas. It's why some people never feel like they're done learning, even long after school ends. Their curiosity just keeps teaching them. 3. You change your mind and you're not ashamed of it. Most people treat changing their mind like it's losing, like admitting you were wrong means something bad about you. But psychologists would tell you the opposite is true. One of the clearest signs of intelligence is being willing to say, I looked at this wrong, let me rethink it. That sounds simple, but honestly, it's hard. We get attached to our opinions. We defend them even when the evidence is stacking up against us. Highly intelligent people tend to hold their beliefs more loosely. When new information comes in, they're willing to actually update their thinking. Because for them, the point isn't to win the argument. The point is to get to what's actually true. Psychologists call this cognitive flexibility, and it's strongly tied to higher intelligence. A mind that can adapt, revise, and keep growing, that's a powerful mind. 4. You space out a lot. You're in the middle of a conversation and suddenly you realize you've been somewhere else entirely for the last 30 seconds. You were somewhere in your head, playing out a scenario, building an idea, replaying something from earlier. People usually act like that's a bad habit, but research tells a different story. When our minds wander, certain parts of the brain actually become more active, the parts tied to creativity, future planning, and self-reflection. So your brain isn't checked out, it's just doing something else. People with highly active minds often have rich inner worlds. Their thoughts can honestly be more interesting than whatever's happening in the room. And while zoning out constantly can get in the way, occasional daydreaming may actually be how intelligent brains process things and come up with creative ideas in the background. So the next time someone catches you staring into space, maybe just call it deep processing. 5. You analyze everything, including things that probably don't need it. Someone sends you a short text and you spend 5 minutes trying to figure out what their tone is. You make a simple decision and somehow you're already running through 6 different possible outcomes. You catch yourself thinking about something and then thinking about why you're thinking about it. People call this overthinking, and sure, it can wear you out. But here's the other side of it. Highly intelligent people tend to analyze more because their brains are naturally looking for patterns, connections, and things that could go wrong before they do. They're not just seeing what's in front of them, they're running the tape forward. That ability to think several steps ahead, that's not anxiety, that's a feature. When it's balanced, it's actually why some people seem to always be a step ahead, because in their head, they already played out what comes next. 6. Small talk drains you. You're at some social thing and everyone's talking about the weather or some show they watched and you're nodding along fine, but inside, you're already somewhere else. Not because you think you're better than anyone, not because you're being rude, your brain just wants something to dig into. Highly intelligent people tend to light up in conversations where there's something real at stake. Psychology, philosophy. Okay, but what do you actually believe about this kind of talk? They want the kind of conversation where you walk away thinking differently than you walked in. Research backs this up. People who have more substantive, meaningful conversations tend to report higher levels of intellectual engagement and satisfaction. Makes sense. Those conversations are where ideas actually collide, where you might actually learn something or shift your perspective. If you've ever been the last 2 people at a party staying up until 2 a.m. talking about life while everyone else went home hours ago, yeah, your brain is just built for depth. 7. You notice things nobody else seems to catch. You point something out and everyone looks at you like you pulled it out of thin air, but you didn't. It was just there. A shift in someone's mood, a contradiction in what someone said, a detail that doesn't quite fit. Highly intelligent people tend to be strong observers. Their brains are constantly collecting information from the environment and connecting pieces together. While most people focus on the obvious, they're picking up on the subtle stuff almost automatically. It's not that they're trying harder, it's just how their brains process information. Picture 2 people watching the same movie. One follows the plot. The other is noticing the symbolism, the character dynamics, the little things planted in the background. Same movie, but one brain pulled a lot more out of it. That kind of awareness can feel overwhelming sometimes. You notice sounds others tune out, tension in a room that nobody else seems to feel. But it also means you're seeing more. And the more you see, the more you understand. 8. You're never fully satisfied with your own work. You finish something and immediately see everything that's wrong with it. You write something, then want to rewrite it. You hit a goal, and instead of celebrating, you're already thinking about what needs to be better. From the outside, that can look like insecurity or perfectionism, but there's something else going on. Highly intelligent people tend to have strong metacognition, which basically means they're really good at evaluating their own thinking. They're aware of what they know, what they don't, and where they're falling short. So they tend to be harder on their own work than other people would be. There's actually a well-documented pattern where the people who know the least about something tend to be the most confident about it, and the people who know the most are most aware of how much they still don't know. The smarter you get, the bigger the horizon gets. That's not a lack of confidence, that's a high standard, one that keeps rising because you keep growing. And while it can be exhausting, it's also why highly intelligent people tend to keep improving long after most people have settled in. So, how many of those felt familiar? Enjoying your own company, never running out of questions, updating your beliefs when you should, spacing out in the middle of conversations, analyzing things until your brain hurts, getting tired of surface-level talk, catching things nobody else noticed, and never quite feeling like your work is done. From the outside, all of that can look like weirdness, aloofness, overthinking, being difficult, too much, too quiet, too intense. But sometimes, the things that make you feel like an outsider are exactly the things that let you see the world differently than everyone else. Because intelligence isn't always loud, it doesn't announce itself. A lot of the time, it's hiding behind curiosity and questions and a mind that just won't let things go. So if you've spent your whole life feeling a little out of step, that might not be the problem you thought it was. It might be exactly what makes you, you. Thanks for watching. Drop a comment letting us know which one hit home for you. Subscribe if you want more content like this. Stay curious.